Wow, that's great. Thanks, Gwen. It was, as Gwen mentioned, we had a site visit last week to our Imperial project, and I followed that up, spending last week on the road. And I kind of took away a few things. I was scribbling some notes as I was listening to the great story that Gwen told about the gold price. And I kind of scribbled down a few words about why I was excited. And the three things that are exciting me right now in the market is the capital markets, the gold price, and everything we're doing here at Core Mining. So the gold price, I won't beat that one again. I think you're going to hear a lot about it. I rotated out of the base metal sector from a career perspective last year because I see it being a good place to be over the next cycle. I think it's a great time to build a new company like Core. Just having spent time in Toronto, I'm increasingly excited about the capital markets and how it relates to microcap companies. Core is a 26 million Canadian company. Companies of our type have not yet attracted a lot of capital. And I haven't been to Toronto in 3 years and seen bankers with smiles on their faces. And I'll tell you, there was lots of smiles walking through all the shops. You know, they're whipping out their PowerPoint presentations. Oh, Banker X, I'm Banker X. I raised $2 billion in financings for mid-tier and large companies last year. I did this, I did that. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's great. What can you do for me? Nothing right now. But that money is coming. And as those cashed up, well-performing intermediates and the gold price performs, what are you as investors going to start asking? Where's the growth? Fine, you're making cash flows, things are great. Where's your growth? And they're going to have to go to companies like Core to get that growth. And that's what's got me excited. It's also opened up, that money will also eventually trickle down into more and more financings and more capital availability for companies like ours to continue to grow and show what great assets we have. So that's kind of my reasons for being excited. And let me tell you a little bit about some of the details of why I'm excited about Core. I'll keep it pretty short and high level. If any of this piques your interest, we're here for the next couple days at our booth. Come by, let's talk about the actual details of the assets. Core has a portfolio of assets. These assets were acquired at the depths of despair of the market in 2017 and 18, and that makes a great value opportunity for a Core shareholder. We're currently out doing work across this portfolio, and if I could leave you with two takeaways about Core, because you hear a lot of things about different companies, Core has two pathways for value creation. And I'm going to say that multiple times as we go through here. The first is exploration. I'm really excited right now. We put out our first big exploration release last week. We've got a whole raft of them teed up on all of the great work that our team did out in the field in late Q3 and Q4 with Eric Sprott's investment. Eric invested because he is excited about exploration. As you know, he likes drill holes. He likes excitement about the new discoveries, and we've got that potential in this portfolio. So we're out there exploring, doing things to show the market these assets are great assets, have value, and could be part of that next upturn in the gold sector. However, we also have a project. One of these 4 projects we bought, Imperial, and that's where we were out with Gwen in the field last week, is heading for a preliminary economic assessment on the back of a lot of historic work done on the asset, and we're going to immediately move that project into permitting. So we also are rapidly moving towards being a developer and moving towards production at our flagship Imperial asset. So 2 paths to value creation, and I'll kind of bang back on that a few times as we go through here. This is the resource base of the company. 3 of the 4 assets you saw on that map have resources on them. You can see we've got a total of 2.5 million M&I and 2.4 million inferred resources. I'll go back to that in a little bit, but this is exactly why Eric Sprott is excited about the company. So how do you value a company like Core? And again, Eric Sprott values the company on the left-hand side of this chart. He sits there and says, wow, Core is trading at $4 Canadian or $4 US an ounce of their total resources. And this is not my chart, this is from Raymond James. That looks cheap to me. In an up market, these kind of valuations should be able to dramatically improve, and that'll create excitement about Core and hopefully create value creation potential for shareholders. Core, like I said, also has the benefit of in the very near future, and just this past Monday, we announced that we are currently engineering a preliminary economic assessment of the Imperial deposit. We expect that to come out by early Q2. Really, that means probably late March or April. That PEA will move Core over onto the other side of this chart. And Core has a second strategic investor in the company, which is a lending bank. And this is a very conservative bank. These guys, Macquarie Bank out of Australia, they lend money to resource companies to build mines. They bought a royalty on this project, they bought a little equity in Core, and they bought a right of first refusal to finance construction of that project. They did due diligence. They have an investment agreement with us where we have to use their money to permit this project. Clearly, a very conservative organization believes that we're moving towards development and they'll have a way to lend us money because that's how they make their returns. So we've got this sort of two sides of value creation at Core, and we're excited about both of them. I'll talk a little bit about that first exploration story I talked about that came out early last week. And that was some of the exploration work we're doing in and around the Imperial deposit. This is the deposit that's subject to the preliminary economic assessment work that's ongoing. It's 0.9 million ounces of 0.6 and 1.3 million ounces of 0.5 grams per ton. It's a 100% near-surface oxidized resource. That's the subject of the preliminary economic assessment. This deposit was heavily drilled in the 90s, and we have the benefit of all that information as we look to how we can expand on that resource. We ran a geophysics program over this deposit to really see how geophysics responded to the deposit. Deposits in this area of the world are all partially covered by transported sand and gravels, which means you have to actually look undercover to find more deposits. We do have a small outcrop here, but we wanted to see how the geophysics panned out on this deposit, and we were very happy to see that the deposit responded well. And we were very surprised to see that there's a very large both mag and IP anomaly undrilled underneath the deposit. So the previous operators, if you can look carefully at this chart, they were drilling following that little blue line along both sides of that chart, following this structure, drilling down until they got too deep, and they stopped. They never went through this layer of sand and gravels, that little pink you see on the left at the bottom of the colored diagram. That's a sand and gravel layer that they would hit when they were drilling, and they'd say, oh, no more mineralization, stop. Right under that and consistently along the deposit and a couple kilometers out each end, there's this very large anomaly. It begs two questions. Is it a parallel structure that's also mineralized? Is it the sulfide roots of this deposit, where oxide deposits have to come from a sulfide deposit somewhere? This deposit is heavily faulted. It's been moved to where it is today. Is this the sulfide roots? We won't know till we do some drilling, but it has changed and created yet another exploration opportunity down the track for the company. The other important thing about that early geophysics work was that it really showed us the types of signatures we should be looking for. We have a very large 20,000 acre land package we staked around the project that goes from Equinox's Mesquite mine to the old Picacho mine. And we're going to use those great geophysical signatures we have to go look undercover and look for more deposits on this great mining belt. That'll unlock more value from the permitting we're going through later in the year on Imperial deposit as we know it today, and hopefully create a lot of value creation for our shareholders. Now, we've also got those other portfolio of assets, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but let me just give you the elevator pitch on both. We have another deposit in California, 1.7 million ounces at something called Long Valley. Long Valley is partially oxidized and is still attached to its sulfide roots. We're excited about testing those sulfide roots. So we're currently have wrapped up our first geophysics program and various other exploration programs to target that drilling. And we'd like to go out and do some test drilling underneath this oxide deposit looking for the sulfide roots to see if we can discover some upside to this deposit and keep making that project bigger and better. We've also got 1 million ounces, as you saw, up in Fraser Gold project up in British Columbia. That deposit is a low-grade deposit. It was drilled in 2006 and 2007. We believe there's a high-grade component of that structure that we could extend with depth and change the nature of this deposit to something that's a little more exciting than the low-grade at-surface deposit is today. Kind of a little bit of the Great Bear story, you know, is the gold accumulating in the folds of these hinges? There's some really nice high-grade intercepts that we can follow at depth. So we've got a drill program that's currently permitting in this project, and we'd like to get the drills also turning in Q1. So we got a lot going on in the company. We've just wrapped up a whole bunch of field programs, as I said, across the portfolio. You're starting to see some of the news come out on that. We've got a few other news releases from that work that are currently in the works, and we'd like to follow that up with drilling, and ultimately later, or hopefully in early Q2, on the PEA for Imperial, to really push forward on both those value creation paths, exploring and moving into having a preliminary economic assessment on our main asset. If any of you are excited about that, come see me outside. We're just outside the door. Thank you very much.